located at the northeast corner of State Route 87 and Hauser Road in Coolidge, changing the zoning from agricultural to general service C3. Parcel number is 401-710040. This is a public hearing. Director Lopez.
Commissioners, this application is for some property that we annexed into the city December 12th, 2019, and it's at the corner of the northeast corner of Hauser and Highway 87. As you know, that's the entrance to Nicola, and it's going to be a well-traveled road. We have a build grant for $15.3 million that's widening Hauser Road and also the turn lanes on 87, and there's going to be a signal there. So we're almost to the end of that planning process with Thailand, and the county's leading that. So it's start construction on the road and the signal and everything probably before September of this year. And you'll see that, so they'll work around all the construction, the trucks and everything going into Nicola. But what that's done, it's given the applicant the opportunity to look at what would be the best use of this property. So because of its location, they would like to rezone this to General Service C3, which is our heaviest commercial zoning, that would allow things like a Quick Trip or a Circle K.
I noticed it doesn't say who the applicant is.
Oh, it's yeah, it's Mr. Siggins. He's the owner. Yeah. So it's I apologize for that.
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
I think it's noted in the staff report.
Right.
Yeah, I read it back there.
So on those grounds and where it's located, we feel it's the correct zoning request. Staff recommends approval of the zoning application on the grounds that proposed rezoning is appropriate for the area and also complies with the general plan. I don't know, Mr. Hanson, do you have anything else to add to this?
I do not.
They have an active rodeo arena. They do a lot of work there. They're looking to probably relocate somewhere else where they have more room. And we're looking at other sites within Coolidge. Hopefully they'll go to. So it's really an expansion of their use right now because they're doing really well and adding some other things, and then using this property for its best and highest use. And I'll answer any questions you may have. And then we have a public hearing, of course.
Director Lopez, what is the zoning on the other two corners, or the three corners adjacent to that or around that area? I see it's...
Yeah, Commissioner, you're asking about across the street, and then the south, that's all the city of Eloy, except the one right across to the west is Pinal County. I think that's general rural still. I don't know if it's
Mixed use and general commercial.
Yeah.
It's on this.
Yeah, on that. It's up on the...
That's the general plan designations there. The zoning, to the north is CR5, which is a county zoning. I think it's some kind of commercial zoning.
Right.
The neighborhood across the street on the northwest corner is a combination of GR and SH, which is general rural and suburban homestead. They're real similar. Southwest is all general rural in Pinal County, and the green on the map on the southern southeast side of the road is within city of Eloy. It's R143, which is kind of a larger lot. I think there's some PADs and stuff on this. Within city of Coolidge, all the purple you see on this current map is I-2, which is where Nicola is. Our general plan designates this whole corridor as industrial manufacturing, which C3 is an allowable zoning in. The green on the west side of the highway is employment in Pinal County's comprehensive plan. Southwest corner is general commercial, also the county comprehensive plan. And then to the southeast corner is a mix of medium density residential and then mixed use within Eloy's general plan.
And
so the mixed use and the commercial, the pink and the blue that you see there, those will likely, especially on these hard corners, develop into some kind of commercial use. Right on the southeast corner, these parcels right here, they're owned by the area water company. Actually, that whole block, I believe. So there's some treatment facilities and stuff there. a utility operation. It's not going to develop into houses
And
or
the
anything
land
like that.
directly north of this property is for sale at this point in time,
Correct.
for sale.
Clark Jones DDS, I think. He is not in the city.
That land's not in the city?
That's county.
Yeah, so this map, kind of the blue area is Coolidge, pink area is Eloy, everything else is county. We gave Mr. Jones the opportunity to be annexed a couple different times, and he declined. So, it could still be done if the ultimate buyer wants to do that and desires to move through things faster than his current options.
Yeah, eventually Eloy may decide to reconsider some of the zoning to the south now that Nicola's in. I know I talked to the economic development person, Jeff Fairman, but you know, it's up to the landowners. If they want to keep the zoning they have now, I don't know that Eloy would change it, but because it looks like it would make sense to follow industrial all the way down the rail, but that's from our point, you know.
Yeah, I would too. I thought that was city of Coolidge land.
Not south.
Okay. So that is county land, or is that Eloy land?
That is county directly north of this.
Okay. No more questions for me.
Where does the city of Coolidge take that between the highway and the railroad, or does it all, it's county all the way up?
Not all the way up, Commissioner Metcalf. From here, the next mile marker road is Shed Road, which is coincident with the Santa Rosa Canal.
Mhm.
So the gap in city limits goes all the way up to there. It goes north of Shed, and then between Shed and Hannah, which is the access, one of the prison access roads,
Mhm.
there's, a couple, maybe 50 acres that come out and touch the highway that we've annexed.
Lafferty.
And then it ducks back in for the hard southeast corner of city limits. Actually, I could probably do this the easier way. And then most of the stuff north of Hannah.
Yeah, as we get closer to the prisons, then we have some workforce housing that you looked at a while back. It's Lafferty. And,
Yes, I remember that, that's
yeah.
why.
And that's still, you know, we haven't seen anything move forward yet on that, but hopefully
The
we will.
land to the east, no, the west of 87, all through there is Eloy, is that correct? All the way to 11 Mile Corner?
Yeah, except up when you get to the northwest corner of Hannah and 87, that's Coolidge.
Northwest corner.
Right.
Commissioner, the site we're talking about is right here.
And that's the Siggins
City's
property.
property is right here. That
Right.
green's kind of hard to see.
Right.
This gray,
Is all
hard to
Eloy.
see. This is all Eloy over here.
Yep.
Ducks in and out. Anything in colors within the city. The purple is already zoned industrial. The green areas are agriculture. Over here in section 1 and 6, that's where the East Line Solar project developed. That hard southeast corner of Hannah 87, reads all that, that's where the CCA goes in. So, I mean, this is the whole, Nicola's at 27 there. We have this slated all for industrial development, that's how it's being marketed. So this commercial use created that much traffic there. Gas station, Quick Trip, Circle K,
Well,
would probably do well.
yeah, the
That's-
inland port is gonna be in what?
Like this is
That's the
this is
whole-
all inland port.
That's all the purple on
It's
the
all the purple.
east side of the track
This
is inland port.
Nicola right here, this whole 480 acres. This is the Lafferty stuff that you guys
Right.
remembering. Yes, we are at Shed Road. This is the city. This is Clark Jones DES piece that we talked about, Mr. Bowman. And then we've got a couple gaps here. People who maybe filed the annexations
And I believe everything north of Hannah on the west side of the railroad tracks, north of that is St. Holdings. I think they have all that up front.
Much everything in purpose.
Yeah.
Safe with the
Right.
exception of Nicholas.
And then the north,
The water campus is
Yeah, right.
somewhere over
yeah, I think on Eric,
City's looking at a fire station right here. So,
then the Vale Road alignment, Tim, we show them where
correct.
it runs just around Railroad. It'll go up, then it turns to the right between Florence and Coolidge, and then as it heads down towards Eloy, our preference is it goes back and ties into I-10 a little more to the east. And, so the freeway will run right down Vale Road, the north-south.
We have our way.
And that's the preferred route that's being expressed by, accepted by,
By the way, they started construction on the off-ramps at 24.
oh yeah, up north?
Point. We talked about rezoning.
I just, we brought up,
Yeah, I know. I'm not chastising you now. Stay on, but we'll talk about it again.
okay,
Get done with this?
Yep. Any other discussion? Ladies, gentlemen? No? At this time, we'll open it up to the public. This is a public hearing. Nobody from the public? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We'll entertain a motion.
Chairman Halby, I move that we approve Cool PZ 210309 as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item for business. Cool PZ 210308, a major site plan application submitted by Brad. I'm not going to pronounce your, I'm not going to murder your last name, no, sir. On behalf of San Angelo Realty for a Burger King restaurant and related site improvements located within the Safeway Plaza on Arizona Boulevard in Coolidge, Arizona, parcel number 203-13004G. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this area was annexed back in 1990. The city, it's C2 General Business, and you know it's in the Safeway Plaza. It's a vacant piece of pad right there in the front, so we're glad to see some activity there. We're very happy to bring forward to you a proposed Burger King. So we know we had one before. This one hopefully get more traction. It's a 3,200 square foot restaurant. It's about an acre, but they're doing it on the north side, on the north half, I guess, of the site. And so it's commercially zoned. It fits the zoning, the general plan. So we've worked out the site plan between us, looking at everything, and the entrance will be off the road that goes into the Safeway Plaza, so you don't have an entrance and having to deal with ADOT trying to get some access. So we recommend approval of the major site plan. It's consistent with the general plan. It meets all the requirements for the zoning code, and they even have some elevations, I think, Tim, right?
The general site that was submitted with the Safeway fuel island is up here, so there's access here. This is the parcel in its entirety. They're using about half of it. They got access through here, and back here with the drive preserved for future development of this lot. They meet their parking requirements. They got a couple drive-through lanes, all this stuff. It's landscaped, which will add significantly. Really, the only comment was this existing tree struggling a little bit, so it probably just needs to be replaced. Other than that, the only other comment we had on our staff report was the elevations were mislabeled, which the applicants have sent updated copies reflected here. You could still kind of tell based on the building footprint on the site layout what was supposed to be what, but this will face south towards the canal. This will face Safeway. This is what you'll see from the fuel island, and this will be what faces Arizona Boulevard. It's pretty typical of what you see for the new Burger King constructions. What they look like for the most part, unless maybe you go to Sedona. Double drive-through lanes are pretty common now. Trash enclosure off to the side, easy access.
It'll really enhance that corner, so that entrance is really happy
Yeah,
to
that's
see it.
kind of look kind of dumpy on that corner there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just dirt now.
I know.
From building, fire, public works too, they all kind of sit, there's a 2-inch gas line that runs through here. And you can't build on top of that, but the applicant has been in contact with Southwest Gas about the relocation of that line, and you can notice it on this page where they're going to bring it up and around through the landscape and travel ways, which is fine.
How far from the gas line do they have?
Chairman Halby, I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah, it'll be guided by the plumbing code, so
their code analysis and architects, my assumption is they've located this easement within those thresholds. It's not a huge distance. You just can't build over the top of it.
Right.
You can't do that at your house either.
Right.
And that's only a little line. This 2-inch line, that's a big line. But with the relocation and coordination with Southwest Gas, it's fine. No issue. Just another thing to pay for. I haven't received any calls since the mailing or advertisement. Last time we processed one of these, everybody was pretty much on board. From the citizen standpoint, we recommend approval and are eager for them to get started.
yeah, we've seen a lot of comments on community chat about this, because they heard about it, and they want to know when it's going to start construction.
These poor guys are met with a little bit of skepticism after the last one that didn't happen, but we're hoping they prove the naysayers wrong.
Yep.
We do have representatives for this application here tonight if you guys have questions for them beyond what was outlined in the staff report. And that's all I have.
Ready? Several. You know me. Let's go. Okay. First off, I'm looking at the entrance coming in. If you are coming in off Arizona Boulevard, there is a very narrow road there because they had to put a divider in so people could only turn to the right going out of there. And they're going to come in and immediately have to turn right into this parking lot. And that's going to be the major entrance, and it appears to be the major exit from the carpool lane. I'm sorry, from the drive-in window lane. So you're going to have a small entrance, and I don't know how big that space is based on this map. It looks, I'm sorry,
25 feet's the minimum.
wide. So you're going to have cars coming and going. That was a problem we had with the McDonald's that we had in that, where before they changed all their pattern, that becomes a very narrow neck when you've got people going into Safeway, people going into all the rest of the mall or the shopping center there, and then you're having people go into what is going to be a very busy restaurant, plus people trying to come out the same entrance that they're going in. It's going to cause a problem, and it's going to be a traffic hazard, in my opinion. Okay, there is another entrance to the rear that you guys are putting in that goes into the back corner, and I don't know, are they going to attach that to the existing parking lot, or is there going to be another road put in there to widen that up, or are they only going to go into the parking lot area that is right next to what is now a iced tea shop that is opened up in that building?
Are you talking about this one or this one?
I'm talking about that one. There is no entrance on the south side. There is not an exit, right?
This will stop, but when it will carry through when developed. So this entrance that you speak of now is right about here.
We'll go right into the parking area.
It'll go directly into the parking lot.
And this is a travel lane all the way through here, so
That's right.
that's kind of how this was laid out. To speak to your concern about this access way here, It looks really short on the site map because we're going from this property line. There is a little bit more out here, but if you look up this road through here, there's the dentist office, Taco Bell, KFC, with the same lane. If you were to traverse that north further, beyond Sonic, you'll see that that's the same situation.
Yeah.
And scenario from Circle K, they put in.
O'Reilly's is the same too.
Yeah, they.
Right, but there, on those, you've got two entrances to come in. You can go into KFC from the backside. KFC Taco Bell is usually people go in the backside, they come out the front side. And they're not trying to do the same street both directions. They can, but most people are going around and catching it the other way. This one will be harder to do that in unless there's some direction given that they come around that way.
Commissioner Bolin, I agree that access is a little more limited here than the previous site. You can't turn into here southbound. Maybe you can.
Yeah, you can.
What's the possibility of opening up Gateway Manor Place so that there's access into and out of the Burger King from that area?
Now, they're not ready to move forward with that road. That's McCrae Group, and they haven't expressed. They may.
Eventually.
We're talking to them about reactivating this development. They said they could sell it tomorrow if they decide to do that. So if they do, at that point, when that becomes a public road, because it's not so right now, I don't believe.
I know it's not now.
Then at that point, they may connect up, to the other. But at this point, this vacant lot, it's not going to go through.
Right,
Eventually, it will.
I walked that this morning just to find out and just to see what it was going to be. And
When they come in to line up to go into the drive-through, it'll be on the southeast corner. So just like with KFC, they'll be down here, not up at the entrance coming in.
That clogs up sometimes too.
Yeah.
But
This
KFC
access
goes
aisle
all the
will
way around
eventually tap in.
KFC is forced around the front of the building. There is no exit on their drive-through window to the right. You have to come around the front of the building and come out.
Yep.
So you've got it's more controlled that way than it is on this because you have a back road to go into, and they have that. I'm just concerned that it will end up being a traffic jam going into the mall and causing problems. We've had enough accidents at that location in the past just because people were turning left coming out of the Safeway Mall.
Right.
Now we're going to have people coming and turning in
Stopping.
north and south and then trying to turn into that driveway. So unless that driveway is extra wide, we're going to have accidents of people trying to come out of the drive-in window and people trying to go into the shop and come around.
We didn't have a concern from our city engineer, so certainly I think he would have raised that flag if he would have saw that it was going to be a traffic issue. I don't know that the numbers are so high, except maybe Christmas.
Well, this will drive some traffic. That access aisle is sufficiently wide to easily handle 2 lanes of traffic.
What is
I've
going
seen
to go?
some drivers.
What is going to go to the west of the driveway? That's going to be there's a fence there.
Landscape?
Is that
This is the existing fence that's there, and there's a little monument sign. So this gets lined with curb, and this is all their asphalt area. This gets additional plant material all put in and irrigated, so it
And
gets
there'll
pretty.
be no place to park on the west side of the building, and the
Correct.
entrance to the building will be on the south side of the building, correct?
This is the main entrance. There's a door here as well.
Okay, what's that door for?
It is
Exiting.
it is this door.
Okay,
Um,
tell me what, well, I'll get to them in a minute then, I guess. I want to know where the people that are waiting for meals that aren't quite ready, where those people are going to go to stop, where they can pick up their meal when it is finished cooking.
Burger
Because I'm
King.
assuming-
They said no one's ever going to be waiting. No, they didn't say.
Well,
Can I get that in writing, please?
and the applicants are here. I know the one in Florence, you just pull up to one of those parking spots, they just walk it out to you.
But the one in Florence has a nice loop around the building that you come into, and that is a large loop just like this, but then they're exiting out so that it's easier, I think. And
Come out
I've been
the
in
outside.
both.
There is no waiting area for the drive-through like, say McDonald's put in their reconstruction.
Okay. And they use that often.
They, especially recently, when the drive-through is almost the only thing that gets used.
And the applicants are here, so if they want to address that.
We're going to get them in a second. I'm not going to let them off easy. It's not in my game plan. And I'm not picking on you. I've lived here for a long time. I think that's longer than anybody else at the tables. So it's just a matter of, I want to know what's going on there.
Yeah, I drive through that Safeway Plaza a lot because we go to Safeway and beat Domino's, and I don't know that this is really going to cause that big of a problem.
I am concerned that it is.
I respect your opinion, obviously.
Just because that is the major entrance going into that shopping center. It's not the only one, but it's the one most commonly used.
Well, we did just spend a whole bunch of money to redo that whole intersection because it was a problem.
Right, and so we've narrowed down that opening. If you'll notice when you drive in there, that opening is much more narrow than it ever was, and the blacktop surface on that corner on the south side is all broken up. So if you're not careful, you'll go into a pothole that's on the side of that right now. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
I mean,
You just walked it.
yeah, I walked it this morning just to find out for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if that's ADOT potholes or
I'm sure it is.
Safeway potholes.
I
They're
don't
not City of Coolidge potholes.
I don't know whose pothole it is. All I know is that people are going to maneuver to miss that pothole. And if they're maneuvering to miss the pothole, will they not pay attention to somebody that is turning in to the restaurant when they should be paying attention to both? And it's hard to do that. And that is a busy corner because a lot of people come out of there and then turn right. A few of the fools still trying to turn left. I mean, the people.
I've seen them achieve it.
Well, and a lot of people do come in there and turn left to go get fuel.
Yes. And that's it's just a very popular entrance, and I'm concerned about the narrowness of the entrance right there, then turning directly into the restaurant.
Commissioner Boland, I agree with what you're saying.
And I'm looking at I'm looking at my phone to see the picture from
Yeah.
overheads.
The way this is laid out in the median there, and I mean, back whenever this done, is kind of a poor design. We would likely do something different nowadays if this were to come before us. But this is what's on the ground. This is what we have to deal with.
They're trying to route the traffic through the light now. So everybody that I see is when they leave Safeway and Domino's goes up and then turns left up on Ruins Drive to get back. So I don't see as many people going back up out right there in front of the gas station like I used to in the old days. Everybody's kind of getting
They
used to
still
it.
go in this way,
Yeah.
but out this way.
But they go out
They
the other
go-
way now.
And they go straight across
Yeah, most
that
traffic
road
goes up now. 'Cause
from behind the gas station,
Yeah.
right straight
So
up to the light turn now.
yeah, so the redirection is working to some degree as far as I can tell.
There will eventually be additional site access from the south as the southern half of this parcel develops.
Once that's done, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
It'll
it's the interim.
eliminate that whole problem.
Well, and that was the next question I had was, once that's done, Gateway Manor will have a turn lane there anyway,
Yeah.
Just in and then to the right.
to
yes.
get in, and then you'll get into the shopping complex that way.
Yeah, they could go up and
There's
then
still a
turn left.
median out there.
Yeah.
But that's an ADOT thing.
There's no way we can coax Gateway Manor to getting a road, say, 30 feet long into there. Because a 30-foot road and then a road across the front would solve this whole issue.
Yeah, I think they're going to move sooner than later. I just talked to Augie Gomez with McCrae Group last week, and we talked to him, and we were just talking about densities and everything, but they know the market's pretty hot right now, so I would think just professional judgment, they'll move pretty soon. They didn't say when. I can't guarantee it, but I think with the market the way it is and everything, we're encouraging it.
I believe that development of this Burger King site will accelerate the potential for this southern part to develop.
I think
If you build it, there will come kind of thing.
Sir, can I ask you to step to the podium? I'd like to ask you some questions.
Please state your name.
Brad Flahiff with Barnett Management Company, the applicant for Burger King.
Brad, I'm Ken Boland. Everybody knows me here in town, but you don't.
Nice to meet you.
The land you own to the south of where you're going to be building is something you're going to develop in the future, I assume, but you're not sure what you're going to do with it yet.
So no, not accurate. This is currently one parcel. It's being split, and we are only buying the northern part of the parcel. So the southern portion is still owned by San Angelo Realty, the entity that's selling the northern half to us.
Ah, I see. Okay, so you have no control over that other lot.
That's correct.
Okay. So we have no time frame on when they will ever, or when they will do something with that. And of course, you're going to accelerate them wanting to do something there because you're going to be a major traffic creator. We hope. We want you to be successful. Don't think we don't. I'm a businessman for 40 years, and so I really want you to be successful.
Thank you. No, appreciate
I just want you to be on the south end of town and not the north end.
The location is a good location for you.
Yes.
We highly, I like the other location better personally, but this one is a good location as well. And you'll get more traffic, I'm sure.
We certainly hope.
Well, being across the ruins, they have 200,000 people under a normal term going in there. Those people come out hungry and thirsty.
Great.
So it's a good location for you. I'm really concerned with that opening, that 25 feet. And it's really the entrance coming in, which is not your property, which looks like it's only about 15 feet wide coming into that thing. But it does not show that on our maps, what the distance is between that center barrier and the road. I just know it's pretty narrow. Driving a dually pickup through there is even more fun. Do you have any thoughts about what this is going to do?
Certainly. So thank you. The first thought I had in looking at it was that this is similar to several sites we have. So we're a franchise based in Arizona, so we own currently 53 Burger Kings in Arizona. This is very similar to several of them. A couple in particular come to mind. And the first thing we look at is that. Is it going to be convenient? Is it going to cause problems? And this one did not concern us based on what we see at those other sites. So that setback, in our opinion, is adequate from the street. And typically, a town engineer or city engineer will have, there's some minimum. You need to be 40 feet off the road. They need to have time to be able to turn, but also for traffic coming out to be able to see them coming. So here, what we look at is visibility, which is good if you're trying to exit. You're coming out of the drive-through heading west and turning to the north. You have adequate visibility to see cars coming in, so time to react and not pull out in front of them. Traffic coming in there to the right, I agree, it's a 25-foot driveway. Many of ours are 24, tends to be the minimum in a lot of cities, so certainly adequate in terms of 2 lanes of traffic. I would agree with you in that also when we get in more rural communities, we just opened one in Chino Valley recently, we tend to have more trucks, so we think about making those drive-through turns a little wider and looking at areas like that to say, is that going to be adequate? And again, we believe it is, as do our civil engineers. So while I understand and appreciate the concern, I don't expect it to be an issue. I'm not one to volunteer stipulations for us, but a couple thoughts that come to mind, is maybe we, if you are able to do that, maybe it's that in 6 months or in 1 year we revisit that, and there can be other things put in place. So maybe that's a sign that says no right turn as they're exiting the drive-through, forcing them to go to the left. Another one might be as they come in, having a sign that says no right turn where they'd be forced to go around to the back. Again, not my desire, because convenience is a huge part of how we're successful, but if we ended up with a situation there that surprised me and not you, and it became a problem, maybe there's another way to mitigate that. But that is not a huge concern on our part. While I do understand your concern, I don't know if you want this at the same time, but before I forget, I'll address that single entry door is not for cars that we've asked to pull over while we prepare their food. We do try not to do that. Obviously, it happens sometimes. We would ask them to pull around to the front. That single entry door accomplishes 2 things, meeting fire code having one exit is not going to be adequate, so we've got that. And the other is its pedestrian connectivity to the center, so it is a way for pedestrians. We don't see many in Arizona, period, walking the sidewalks, but that is the other reason it's there and typically required, is you'll see that it connects with the pedestrian walkway.
How wide is the driveway and by the drive-in window? My eyesight used to be better than it is now.
Sure. The drive-through lane itself is,
Yes,
is
sir.
that, I believe that's 12 feet wide. I'm going to look at my architect to confirm. Typically, we are 12 feet wide on the drive-through lane.
So it's not wide enough for one car to pass another.
That's correct.
So once you're in that slot, you're in that slot, although you can double stack them.
Correct. At the beginning, the point of that, then you'll notice, obviously, it's two lanes that then turn into one. That is, accomplishes a couple things. Perception is the line's not as deep, but reality is there's less likelihood of those cars backing out into that driveway, where now you could be interrupting flow of traffic. Again, if there's ever access from the south, which we certainly hope there will be, that'll keep it from backing up. Burger King Corporation asked us to put in bypass lanes, so if they had their desire, where some of that landscape is now to the north, there would be a lane that would allow cars to get around. Just an opinion of our franchise group, and we've done this for a long, long time. They're just not a great idea. If we need to get people out, we get the car in the front to move. If someone had an emergency or the car was broke down, we get out and push. It just hasn't been an issue. So there is no way for a car to get around another car there. I wish I could tell you more than I don't think it'll be a problem, but I will say that I've worked with this franchise group for 35 years, and I've done the development side of things for the last 15, and so those things jump out at me typically when we're designing a site plan, and I'd be very surprised if that were an issue here, though I hope there's that much traffic.
I hope there is too.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I appreciate that.
I'll tell you that layout mirrors the North Pinal McDonald's at Villago, almost to a T. And I worked at, nice to meet you, I'm Matt Duran. I'm a law enforcement officer in Class Granny. And even with winter visitors, at the height of morning rush hour, afternoon, I've never seen an issue with traffic, and it's almost the same layout. You got Barrows, you got the bank, you got the fuel station for Fry's. I've never seen any issues with traffic, and it's almost exact mirror of that layout.
And unfortunately for us, McDonald's tends to do a good 80% more business than we do. So that's the other thing we look at, is how are they doing in town, or in any town, how are they doing? And so I think we would have less problem if there is a problem than they do. Though again, I'd hope for the opposite.
Mr. Hanson, on the report on page 4, it talks about the number of parking spaces required and the number of parking spaces they have available. It says they're short 2 spaces and they were short some plants. Is that going to be a problem for them to be short 2 parking spaces?
Commissioner Bolin, it won't be for this particular site. The other one we looked at previously, the site was the site.
19 and 2?
But this whole plaza, it's almost all parking, so this parking is easily, got too many clickers. These are parking spots right here, so if it became an issue, they got plenty over there. Presumably, this is where the employees park, because you don't put them in your customer ones. There is ample parking within this plaza. 2 more spaces this site sacrifices other things. It impacts their ability to meet their retention requirements. You start cutting out landscaping, which is already, a couple short of strict application of the code. We start counting some stuff out here. We looked at the hard counts and realized they're short, but I really don't see where to add them. There's power lines out here, and from just a visibility standpoint, you don't want this to completely obscure the fact that you have a store here. So overall, there's going to be a significant amount added. This will be a great improvement over the dirt lot there. And
Is that bump out that you're doing on the north side where all these plants are, is that going to narrow down? I see it's there now already.
existing. It's existing.
It's existing now, I see that. I'm just wondering, is it, if that was removed or cut back, would it make the flow of traffic more smooth? Would that help them make smoother traffic going out, rather than having to go around that? Because there is a big tree on that that is a blind spot coming into that.
It won't, on that picture that I'm showing you, it'll just get worse.
Oh.
Because it's, this curve that was engineered into this has a traffic calming effect. Rather than a straight shot right through, it subconsciously forces you to slow down a little bit through the parking lot. The trees that are there, as far as visibility, and the shrubs, the canopies are to be maintained at a certain height, and the shrubs are not to exceed a certain height on these corner sections, as to not obstruct visibility. About 30 inches.
Those trees?
These are existing,
Those trees. Those are,
and
no, those ones right there, yeah.
yeah, these are there now.
It's existing now.
They're existing trees, the ones with the little crosses in them, that are going to be salvaged.
And we've-
Pretty big trees. Once they're trimmed up, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, we had them trimmed before for any visibility issues, so they've been trimmed quite a few times, and they'll just keep them trimmed that way.
The visibility, while a real concern, is not a big a deal within a parking lot as a public street. If you're going 25 miles an hour through there, you're going too fast.
My main concern is just the entranceway coming, and it's not even their entranceway so much as it is the other guy's entranceway
The whole plaza.
for the whole plaza. It's
This-
just too dang small.
From this point to the edge of pavement out here is about 120 feet.
It's pretty long.
But theoretically,
But the
stages
flow,
6
the flow
cars,
of
but
traffic's gonna go
I mean,
that.
if you're driving, people are most likely going to do this rather than mess with all this.
6 of one, half does the other, what they'll do.
That's about what it is.
Having
I
had
guess,
the bottle stop for the last 40 years, I can tell you that
to your
it
point,
won't fly.
Commissioner Bolin and Brad, this is for you. I wonder why you guys didn't mirror this site and put the parking on the north and the building on the south and completely avoid the relocation of this gas line. It would also put your drive-through out down here. I mean, you guys do this all the time. I'm not the guy who does it, but that gas line relocation's got to be a significant expense.
It's definitely a disappointing expense, and I think, quite honestly, that was a miss at the beginning, which is unusual. But I think, if I understand what you're saying, if you mirrored this, flipped it
Correct.
this way, it becomes a what we would call a reverse building. So if you think about what that does to the kitchen and the standard layout, I guess if we had a floor plan, it would probably illustrate that better.
Now you're looking at this driving south instead of, or
Yeah,
driving up
so-
instead of this.
So typically, if we had to have the building that way, what we would typically do is have the drive-through lanes. You would flip it this way and this way, so that the drive-through entry would be, you'd be coming from the north, heading south, and entering the 2 drive-through lanes, and it would exit out then at the southeast corner.
Like this.
That's typically, cities are not appreciating the drive-through menu boards being against the street, number one. It's certainly not the most attractive of our elevations to have the rear of the building and the back door facing the street as well. And it makes a much more significant setback for the building if you see, now you've got 2 12-foot wide drive-through lanes and an 8-foot island. So I won't bother with the math. Obviously, then it starts getting the building further back from the street, which limits visibility, which typically impacts business. So we did look at the site plan a few different ways and felt like this was probably going to be the best for flow, visibility, everything in combination. But
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, the gas line is what
yeah,
triggered it. Southwest Gas has usually been pretty good to work with. That was a different utility.
they're also
That would
really
make a lot more
wanting
sense.
that cross-access maintained on the west for the potential future development, so that you have that similar cross-access going up to the north through the shopping center in here. So also, again, if we flipped it, then, that it pushes the building back even further and further, and at some point it makes it not viable if we don't get good visibility from the street. There's just a lot of studies about the impulse buying. For parking, if it's helpful, I'll just say that a couple things. One is, most cities, considering how drive-throughs has evolved over the years, pre-COVID, where about 67% of our business goes to the drive-through. So if we've got 400 customers a day, you're getting the vast majority of them going through the drive-through anyways. Parking it's so rarely an issue for us not having enough that honestly our employees probably would park here. There is a shared parking agreement, so if we needed to, we do have access to those other parking spaces. Today, we sit at about 80%, and our dining rooms for our group have been open since last, June or July. So when we were allowed to open them at limited capacity, we did. They remain open with some limited capacity, and we're still seeing 80% of cars go through drive-through. There's some expectation in the industry that we're not going to see it get back down to 67%. So parking's another one, just to alleviate any concerns. And then maybe a question that came up that my architectural firm hasn't answered yet. Typically, the ADA spaces count towards the required parking. So if 22 are required, and we have 20 plus those two. So it's a question I put out to them and realized when you raised the issue, I haven't heard the answer.
Counted 18 and 2.
Is that what it is? Maybe I've just seen the wrong number.
But
But regardless.
wrong. I count the required parking and then add ADA to it.
Okay, so yeah, what I'm looking at the parking calculations on the right side of the site plan, and it says 22 required and 22 provided. So unless we've got that calculation wrong, and we may, but
As a matter of you included ADA and I added
gotcha,
it to.
gotcha. I'll tell you, I think we'd
Count the bathroom
survive with
square
16 in most cases, so, yeah.
It's not an issue, and the code has a provision written in there that a way to relieve parking deficiencies is with a cross-access parking agreement, which exists throughout this plaza.
Great. Mostly, I just want to mitigate concerns. If there are concerns about parking, I would.
And we
I would
talked
tell you
about
it
that when we
shouldn't
were looking at the site, about the fact that you have an agreement, and then St. Angelo, which is the owner, called us, encouraging, actually to work with your firm along with McCrae.
Oh,
So we had
okay.
calls from Augie and everybody else.
Well, he'd certainly like to sell it too, I'm sure.
It was noted in the report, from
Yeah.
a staff standpoint, we are not concerned about parking at all. I'm more the guy who gets you on the landscaping, and even that small deficiency, given what you've presented, no one will notice except for a guy like me who knows how to count those things, because no one else is that bored to read that part of the code.
I think you're fine on the ADA. I'm the ADA coordinator for the city, and I was in Glendale for the city, so I think you're fine.
No,
Incidentally-
his ADA is good, and
Yeah.
it's fine
Never
overall.
I think we'll be enhancing this landscaping more than you're seeing here anyways, as I look at it. There's a few things that evolve after preliminary plans. We typically dress up certain areas more just for guest appeal, so obviously we'll submit those things. But
And as far as the gas line, the mayor directed me to contact Southwest Gas and make sure they hurry and move that line to help you.
they've told us it'll
he
take
wants me to
4
do it in-
months.
He wants me to do it
For-
in writing
for the
if he's so
process.
approved, so.
That's one of our big issues right now, is they're saying once our civil plans are complete and submitted,
Right.
we've been having trouble hearing from Arizona Water to confirm where the water line is, so we're working through some things, but any help with Southwest Gas would be great. We're obviously covering the cost, and
Right.
if it's of interest, it's about $25,000 to relocate that line, but
And if you need something
be good.
from Arizona Water, we meet with them monthly. In fact, we're meeting with them next Tuesday to discuss projects like this, where
Okay.
if you need some help locating something, we can ask them to do that. And they usually
Great.
comply. They're he's busy like everybody, but they're really good at responding.
That's what I hear.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Chairman Halby, if I may offer a suggestion, and Brad, just speaking to Commissioner Boland's concern about the out here, and we've all seen challenged drivers. What about just pulling this island back a little? You know, I realize it messes up the symmetry here, but just a couple feet so they're not curb hopping or they're not pulling out like this while, I mean, I don't know if that's really a concern. I know you guys have looked at this, probably lose a shrub, but when you're talking Honda Civics and things like that, it's not a big deal, but
I don't see a
crew
problem with
cab,
that.
long, big pickup truck's gonna, might take one of those shrubs out for you.
Clip that corner anyway, yeah.
He's gonna go over the curb, let's put it that
Right.
way.
It would
Yeah.
just make it easier to turn out of there in a confined space and maybe mitigate some of the potential collisions that Commissioner Boland was.
I don't see any problem with that. Obviously,
Cut down a couple lineal feet of curb for you.
happy to do that.
Um,
Assuming there's no
I,
light pole or anything there already, or, I mean, and again, that can be relocated, so, yeah, if that would help.
that's
There's
a
nothing.
suggestion.
Okay.
that If the commission wants to say that, that's up to them.
Sure.
I am not in a position to require that.
No concern on my part, anyway.
As far as when we were talking about moving the building or flipping the mirror, reversing the building, I can understand where that's not going to work. Because it just, you have to recondition it, and you certainly don't want your back door to the street. You want the front door to be the street where people are, get your best foot forward. I'm still amazed that the Circle K down the street is sideways on the boulevard. It just doesn't do a front face like most of them do nearly as well, yet they're having no problem with business as far as I can tell.
They really wanted to be seen from the overpass.
They are.
They are.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I think we should move forward on it, personally.
Anybody else?
We technically still have a public hearing.
Yes, we do. All right, this time, we'll open it to the public.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, nobody from the public? Close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
Chairman Halby, I move we approve Cool PZ 210308, an application for Burger King, and with the recommendation that we cut the corner on the curb.
Is that how you want it worded?
It'll be up to their
Chairman, I'd
engineer,
like to-
so.
That's basically what we're after. Maybe
2 foot?
allow staff, I don't want to tie a dimension to it. Allow them to work with staff to come up with something, because we'll get some engineers.
To open that
Good.
access?
That's kind of why I said it like I did, just cut the corner on the curb and leave it to the staff and the owner to work out.
Okay.
But move that corner back.
Explore that option.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we welcome you guys.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
All right, Director Lopez, reports.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner, just the same thing. We've been really extremely busy. We're still courting some businesses from, that are coming down through the ACA. And we've met with some out on site. Tim and I were out there a couple weeks ago, and we're still seeing some more coming, so it's just getting busier. Single-family homes in 2020 were about 512. Just in January, we saw 120 permits for houses. We surpassed Casa Grande for 1 month. But of course, they have so many more lots. They'll probably went out. But the way we're tracking now, we could potentially have over 1,000 permits this next year, this current year, 21. So we also are talking to, Rick and I met with the sewer group that's right now in charge of Sandia, that has Sandia. And we're looking at, I already pulled the development agreement, so I can start looking at that. And then we're looking at the PAD to see if there's any changes they may do. Looks like they're getting ready to bring that up. And that's, that PAD is very big. It contains about 11,000 units of housing. So we went and talked to them about sewer, and we were up in Arizona Water up in Phoenix. So that's first steps to bringing some back. We've got vacant land that's being brought back up. There's subdivisions, Landmark 2, as you know, and some of the others. So we're getting a lot of activity on properties that have assured water supply, that are platted or have a PAD, and they're starting to look at them. So that's pretty exciting. We're starting to see that come up. I think they want to take advantage of the market right now, and so it's pretty much all I have. But it's exciting stuff, and the pool's going to open pretty quick. I think the end of May. So they're going to remember the date. I think it's 28th or something. The pool will be open, and then they'll start Northern Avenue reconstruction, I think, fairly quickly. They're working on that. They had a pothole and get everything. Yeah, so they're going to resurface that road, so it should be okay. They're trying to time it with the school. But they can open, they can do half street and then do the other half and still keep traffic open. So it's going well. That's all I have.
Can you give us a number of how many businesses are currently you're talking to without giving us names that are looking at developing in Coolidge? Do you have any kind of numbers for us?
No, because some of them, I'm meeting with one really quickly. The team is that we started working with 2 years ago, and they came back up, and that was through the ACA in Southern California. So a gentleman named Peter Reese that was working for the ACA kind of brought it to my attention, and we talked quite a bit. So that's just one large one, but we get some projects that are being looked at that are fairly large down iPads that maybe it's our site, iPads, could be West Valley cities, and then the usual suspects are they're looking at Austin, they're looking at Tennessee, Georgia, and potentially Reno. And that's depends on the type of business, and that's who we know we're competing against. But our location is so good, you know, and then where we're at, and then we have so much rail in between Phoenix and Tucson. Within 8 hours, we can be, you just look at the area, we can be in Texas, we can be in California, be, you know, Salt Lake City, and so there's a lot of areas that we have the maps that shows all the distances. So, gosh, I've got a list of companies that, and we don't know the companies. We know some of the companies, but most of them have they give them an alternate name, so they don't disclose, and we sign NDAs to not disclose anything.
A lot goes into site selection.
For 3 years, or else the project absolutely does not come here, so they go somewhere else.
Project Star Trek would have nothing to do with space.
Yes. Some of them are named after pets. So, you know, I mean, in the last, gosh, give you an idea, last 2-3 months, no, it's too much. Maybe the last 2-3 weeks, there have been 3 new ones that we're looking at, and they came in, and what we do is we send them information through St. Holdings. Sometimes it's directly from us. Sometimes we provide the data, and then St. Holdings provides other data. It depends on how they want it. And then once we do that, sometimes we work with the county on some of them. Some come through the ACA, most of them do, the Arizona Commerce Authority. There's others that we're working on ourselves that came in through brokers. And so it's a variety. And you could have 3 or 4 that come in a matter of 2 weeks. They're large, and then maybe not have any for a week. And then you may get one that 2 years ago was here, and we thought, well, they didn't follow through. Then all of a sudden, you get a call from St. Holdings, hey, Project so-and-so's back. Project Star Trek just came back 2 years ago. Oh, okay, let's gather the team and see what we can do to get Project Star Trek.
Super happy when we get them in front of you.
Yeah, once we get them to that point. But the real big thing is when we get a site visit. That means we're on the short list. A lot of it's just responding, and they get information. I go through and do the incentives if we can. We have to be, you know, we're sure that we were careful. We we qualify everything we say by saying it has to be approved by mayor and council on the incentive agreements, has to pass third-party analysis. Usually Elliott Pollock or some of those groups have to analyze that it passes the scrutiny of the Goldwater Institute, because they look at everything, and we want to do that. We want to make sure we're good stewards of the public's money. So anything we incentivize, we make sure that there's enough public benefit to offset any of that. And usually we don't do anything until it's based on performance, and if we give anything back, the maximum will be 49%, and usually we don't give back. It has to be a huge project like Nikola. That's the development agreement that was created with them. So we use that as our base, and then we adjust it up or down depending on. At one point, I thought Nikola was the biggest project we'd see, and I was like, I saw some recently that I'm like, wow. And so just they're larger. But they're just because of where we are and how things are going, with Lucid and Nikola being here in Coolidge, it creates some synergy in this whole area for the manufacturing. What I'm really happy is we're seeing some potential relocates that are not related to the electric industry. So I like seeing that because I want diversity in the economy. Because if one industry kind of has a hard time and struggles, it doesn't drag the whole economy of the city down. Like Detroit, everything was based on cars. GM, Ford moves out, economy tanks, everybody, no houses here. If we have a good mixture of some manufacturing related to, a certain type of widgets that have nothing to do with the other one, that's pretty good. And so we have a nice mixture of businesses that can stay afloat no matter what. And survive downturns, which we'll have. They're cyclical, absolutely. Yeah, and so we're also seeing a lot of activity at our airport. And we have the airport master plan. I think some of you are aware. We sent out some things. That process has started, and will include exciting things like in the future. This is way in the future. So, horizontal spaceport type concepts, just aeronautical for in the future when we land, fast jets coming out across the ocean. So we've actually, Rick and I have met with our counterparts in Australia. We talked to them about that concept and through the Arizona Spaceport Alliance. And sharing the same thing. They're looking for sites in America that have really good airspace, no bad weather. Our airport's, it's planned as a regional airport by Pinal County, surrounded by state land. So it's good. So we're working all fronts.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for your help with your experience with Boeing. That really has been really good.
I've been able to share a few things with Colin.
Yeah. I found my card from when I visited them back in 2011. It was the chairman of, the director of unmanned aerial vehicles. I had to get a security clearance to go in and see him in Seattle, and they came out with and tested in some aircraft out here a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So they.
When I was still working for them, we used to come
Yeah.
here often.
And I took a tour of that factory.
What makes this a very viable area for
Right.
the military.
Yeah. Mesa was shadowing me because they didn't want me to take any of their business out of me. And I said, hey, you guys got so much. You got to share. Bought all our water, So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Is that all we got?
Nope.
Oh,
Yeah.
Al, you were talking about on-ramps.
They started the ramps coming off from the 202 onto the 24. They're moving dirt
Oh, yeah.
on the west side of Ellsworth and getting the ramps built up out to Ellsworth, then they'll go across on the other side.
Yeah, I saw it. Surprising how much work's been done.
Oh, I know, man.
It's like,
I drove up through there and I said, holy smokes, what's going on here?
Might be real after all.
oh, it's real, all right. It's
Well,
yeah.
are we getting any money from the Goldwater group still got us tied up with the money, or?
It's still in court. They haven't come out with a final decision as far as I know at this point. We get updates every so often. It's still in, I think it's in the Supreme Court. But hopefully we'll hear something soon. I know the amount of money in escrow is, I think, over $30 million. So, there's a lot of money building up. They were able to get an approval to collect the tax. So, yeah, that's still moving forward. And we hope under this administration's efforts to enhance the infrastructure, maybe we'll get more money for that. So we're as the city's lobbyist, I'm also contacting, we met with Senator Kelly not too long ago and expressed our desire for the airport because he really took an interest to us that he's an astronaut and actually offered his services to look at any projects we have coming so he can scrutinize them for us, help us make sure they're legit and there's no issues. So, hopefully we'll get some money for, it's construction money, so we certainly will do everything we can to get some more money for the north-south if that's the priority for the country. It seems like it is, so we'll do whatever we can to get that money. So that's a great point.
Anybody else?
I have nothing.
All right. Make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor? Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Go home, everybody.